Canadian comedian. A tribute to John Candy.
You're still a non-smoker, aren't you?
Daddy.
Just being a dad, that's all.
Hey, how's the boat coming?
It's coming. A little slow.
Not good, huh?
Could be better. Hey, can't win them all.
But you'd like to win one, wouldn't you?
One would be nice.
I can imagine John in high school organizing bus trips to Buffalo to see a Buffalo Bills game. I think that would have been a fun bus to be on, I think.
You know, he had a natural presence. He had that kind of thing that lit up a room.
It was so much fun to be around him. He laughed so much.
The thing I'll remember most for sure is just that he enjoyed people and enjoyed life.
Well, he was just one of those kind of people that I don't care who you are, you couldn't help but love John Candy.
John Franklin Candy. He was born in 1950 and he spent his early years in King City, Ontario, Canada. John's father died when he was 5, and that early tragedy planted in the young man a fierce desire to protect and care for his loved ones.
I took on a responsibility of going to work, you know, that was the thing to do. Probably taking on the father role unconsciously, as a child feeling, you know, when there's a loss of a parent. Well, I'll fill in, as children will do. You know, I'll fill it in, I'll do it. So I probably took that on. I know I did.
The roots of John's comedy were planted early, too, in the many hours he spent watching the great comedians.
When he was watching movies, you know, you and I would go and watch a movie. John would research. I mean, he was researching for sure. That's how he lived.
He was fascinated by the movies. So, as it turns out, that's probably had something to do with the fact that he was aspiring to do something. But we had no sense.
John's decision after high school to become an actor surprised everyone, but John was convinced his destiny was the stage, any stage.
Whether it's sunny or whether it's not, whether it's freezing or terribly hot, whether it's cloudy or whether it's clear, whether it's thunder or wind that you hear.
At Toronto's Tarragon Theatre, John landed the role of a Shriner in the play Creeps, and it was clear he had found his niche.
He was just so happy to be there at all. Like most of us are when we first start in this business, you know, we're prepared to do it all for nothing.
I had just come from Ottawa with Valerie Bromfield, my old partner there in comedy. She had done a children's theater play, I think with YPT or one of these groups, and where they'd, you know, go up to Bala Bay and, you know, tour around and, you know, dress as squirrels and stuff. And she said she'd met a guy there who was, he said, he's just like you, she said, you know, you're the same, you guys, you know. These, you know, big Canadian men. And one day I was walking by her apartment on Yonge Street, and, you know, she leaned out the window and said, hey, come on up, you know, this guy's here, Candy's here. And I walked up, and there was John. He was in a brown suit, and he had his brown Pontiac parked outside, and he was selling Kleenex.
He had a job with Perkins Paper. He got a LeSabre car, and he was able to go around and stock shelves. And I told him that that was a real career option. I mean, he got a company car, he got to wear a suit, and he got to be a sort of a general manager of a little area. And I really thought that that was the direction he should go into. Thank goodness for everybody that he didn't take it.
In 1972, Chicago's renowned Second City Comedy Theater arrived in Toronto to conduct auditions. Every actor in town wanted to try out except John Candy. His friend Dan Aykroyd took drastic action.
We were all kind of scared because the audition was 5 characters, you know. You had to come out and walk out and, as one character, go back, and then a minute later come back as another character. And I think what we did was we said, oh, John, well, come down and watch us, you know, please come down and kind of offer some support, you know.
I was invited by Dan Aykroyd and Valerie Bromfield to join them for lunch, and they had put my name down on the list to audition, unbeknownst to me. And while I was standing around waiting for Dan and Val to finish their work there, my name was called, and they pushed me into a room.
So what do you got to lose? And he went up.
I was like, oh, I'll kill you for doing this to me. And I went into this theater, and I was just, oh. And they said, going up on stage there, this is a department store exercise. The object of the game is give and take. That's all we want from you. Just went, wow, the sweat was all over me.
As soon as they saw Candy on stage, you know, it didn't matter what he did, it was just a presence, you know, and I think that they were really more thrilled about getting Candy that day than they were about Valerie and I.
2 days later, they called and said, would you move to Chicago? It took me about 5 seconds to get my mouth open, and they said, you'll be there for a couple of weeks. I ended up living there a year and a half.
Of all the people I worked with at Second City, John improved the most as an actor. I think he maybe wouldn't have to because, you know, as I said, he had so much going for him just as far as presence went. A lot of actors, I think, would coast on that, but John didn't. I watched what he could do with a part, you know, and how believable he'd make it and how interesting he could make it, how he could create a true character, and really, I really credit him with being one of the best, you know.
Action! Have you heard from Caesar? Wine! Ah! No, not wine, not wine, not wine. It wasn't wine, it was yes. I can't work with him. You can't work with me. Yes, I can't work with you. You can't work with me. This is ridiculous. I can't stand working with you or you. What are you talking about? 7 weeks of hell, that's what it's been for me. Yes? I can't stand this place. I'm out of it. I quit.
We used to do these improvs where John called it his room, and there were sort of like things set. The more you did John's room with him, the more you could really play, because everything was always in the same place. Blow darts on the top shelf, books in Latin in the middle over here, and file cabinet over here with information about your family. And, you know, John, in the middle of a scene, would go, you know, I have a book that, well, here, you read it. And I'd take the book, because you're never supposed to deny an improv. You take it, and he says, it's written in Latin. And, you know, you'd have to read in Latin. You'd have to make up some Latin to go with it. And he was constantly, like, you know, pushing you and egging you forward, but in a real playful way. And the audience just loved him.
As a performer, I think the Second City stage was the best for me. To work with those many people, with those creative minds, and the freedoms that we had, and it was the time and our age, and you know, we were working for nothing. We'd work a lot of hours, and didn't mind it. We had the best time. I really did. My fondest memories there.
I vividly remember the 43 hours we took to drive from Toronto to Los Angeles, and it was like the beginning of our dreams, you know, and that was a journey that I'll never forget. You know, we played old music, we sang, and talked, and wrote routines, and you know, focused in on what we were going to do when we got older and where we wanted to go. And looking back on that, it was one of those kind of great, you know, drives of origination, where we really focused in positively on the vision we wanted for our careers and went for it.